You rest at the edge of stillness, letting your breath settle until it feels like part of the quiet around you. In this soft pause, you begin to imagine the space that holds everything together. Not the space of distance or emptiness, but a quieter, more delicate notion, the space that surrounds you even now, in the air between your hands, in the gaps between your thoughts, in the places you always assumed were simply blank. You let yourself feel into that blankness, sensing that beneath its silence lies a subtle, living motion. As you drift inward, you picture a vast, open canvas, the kind that stretches without borders, without corners, without anything to interrupt its reach. This is the canvas of space itself, and you float on its surface as if lying on a calm, endless sea. At first, everything seems perfectly still. The sea appears unmoving, steady, passive. But as your attention softens, you begin to notice tiny tremors beneath the surface, a faint vibration that seems to come from nowhere at all. This is the beginning of the stir, the first hint that emptiness is more active than it appears. You breathe slowly, imagining these subtle vibrations rising through the quiet, like gentle ripples that appear on water even when no wind touches it. In physics, these ripples are known as quantum fluctuations. They are small, almost impossibly small, yet they never stop. They flicker into existence and fade again, like fireflies glowing for the briefest moment. You picture them not as chaotic sparks but as tiny whispers, a soft humming woven into the background of reality. As you imagine this hum, you feel your body soften with it, as if tuning to a frequency that has always been there. Nothingness becomes a softer word now. It becomes less of an absence and more of a presence, a quiet fullness. You imagine space as a fabric, not rigid or flat, but alive with gentle motion. This fabric is made of fields, invisible yet everywhere, stretching through the entire universe. Even in the quietest vacuum, even in places where no particle drifts, these fields remain. They never turn off, never disappear. They simply are. And their stillness is only an illusion. Underneath, they shimmer with possibility. You let your awareness expand, following this shimmer outward. You imagine the vastness of space between planets, between stars, between entire galaxies. Places colder than anything you could feel, quieter than anything you could hear. And yet, even there, the fields continue to vibrate. Even there, fluctuations dance and weave, rising and falling like tiny breaths of the universe. The thought brings you a strange comfort. Even in the loneliest corners of the cosmos, something is always moving, always alive. You notice your own breath matching this subtle rhythm. The inhale becomes a gentle rise, like a small wave forming on the cosmic sea. The exhale becomes a release, a settling back into the field's quiet motion. You begin to sense a connection between your body and this shimmering emptiness, as though the same fabric that stretches across the universe also threads through you. It holds you without touching, supports you without weight. Your mind drifts to the atoms in your body, the countless particles that make up your bones, your lungs, your heartbeat. Each particle is not a solid dot, but a small vibration in a deeper field. You realize that these particles arise from the very fluctuations you sense. They are born of the same invisible motion, the same background hum. The thought feels soft and grounding. You were made from the quiet activity of the universe itself. You linger on this feeling, letting it deepen. Space no longer seems empty but filled with a gentle potential. It is like a blank page that already contains the faint outline of a story, waiting for ink to reveal it. or like a silent room that still carries the memory of every sound ever spoken within it. The empty space around you is not a void, it is a cradle for everything that could be. You imagine floating through this space, drifting deeper into its quiet complexity. You let the hum of the fields wrap around you like a soft blanket. You feel the flicker of fluctuations brushing against your awareness, gentle and harmless. Slowly, your thoughts begin to settle, becoming lighter, as if each one is carried by the quiet motion beneath them. As you sink further into this inner sea, you sense that this subtle stirring is only the beginning. It hints at a deeper structure underneath, something that gives shape to the particles in your body, to the warmth in your hands, to the very sense of form that allows you to exist. You sense that these fields are not random, they have patterns, strengths, and behaviors that give rise to everything you know. You pause in this realization, hovering between understanding and wonder. You feel the quiet invitation of the universe, as if it is saying, "Look closer." There is more beneath the silence, more within the shimmer. Something steady and supportive rests beneath these fluctuations, something that reaches all the way into you. You let yourself drift even deeper, imagining what it means for these fields to exist everywhere at once. They do not sit in one place, nor do they move like wind or water. Instead, they permeate, filling every corner of space with an invisible presence that cannot be removed. If you could scoop out a piece of space and carry it with you, the fields would come too, as inseparable from space as warmth is from sunlight. This thought settles gently into you, reminding you that the universe is not built from separate pieces stacked together, but from continuous layers that overlap and intertwine. You picture the fields like an endless ocean beneath a thin surface of matter. The particles, the atoms, molecules, and structures you know ride on top of this ocean, but the true depth lies below. Every ripple in this ocean affects the particles above, guiding their behavior, shaping their interactions, and determining how they move. And even the smallest motions, your breath, your heartbeat, the warmth of your skin, are part of this delicate interplay. You begin to sense that you have never been separate from the universe's deeper structure, you have always floated on it, supported by it. As you imagine these layers stretching out forever, you feel a calming sense of continuity. Your body, your thoughts, your presence here, they all arise from this gentle, shimmering foundation. The fields are quiet, but they are steady. They hold the rhythm of matter, the pulse of existence. And without trying, you begin to feel their steadiness inside you, like a quiet anchor beneath your awareness. You rest in this realization, enveloped by the soft stir of empty space. And as the hum of the field settles into your mind, a new question begins to form slowly, like a small ripple expanding across a calm sea, shaping every particle within. You sense this question growing gently, like a soft glow rising just beneath the surface of awareness now. You begin this chapter the way you might slip into a warm bath at the end of a long day, slowly, gently, without effort. You let your breath loosen. You let the muscles along your back release their quiet grip. And as your body softens, you sense something subtle beneath you, beneath everything, waiting patiently for your attention. A quiet sea. Not a sea of water, not a sea stirred by wind or tide, but a sea of pure potential, what physicists call the quantum field, the invisible ocean beneath the world you know. It stretches everywhere, touching every corner of space, saturating every place your breath has ever been. You don't see it, but you rest on it, live in it, move through it, the way a bird moves through air without thinking. Everywhere you look, your hands, the room around you, the sky outside, the entire universe floats on this silent, shimmering sea. You feel it now not as a sensation, but as an idea that arrives softly, like a whisper settling into the mind. There is something beneath the surface of reality. Something continuous. Something steady. Something that never turns off. You breathe in, and the thought grows clearer. Imagine this field as a calm, infinite ocean before dawn, the surface perfectly flat, without a single disturbance. No waves. No wind. No sound. A state of stillness so complete that even time seems to hesitate. This is the field when it is at rest. Not empty, never empty, but waiting. Balanced. Poised. And yet, you know oceans never stay still. With every small shift, every ripple, every vibration, something happens. And in the quantum sea, those tiny ripples become the particles that form everything you see: electrons, quarks, photons. They are not independent objects floating through space. They are the smallest waves rising from the deeper water beneath. You pause here, letting the idea sink deeper, letting it become part of your mental landscape. You are not made of isolated little beads of matter. You are made of waves, tiny excitations of invisible fields. Every atom in your body is a gentle tremor in this underlying sea. Your existence is an ongoing ripple. As your breath settles into a calm rhythm, you imagine these ripples spreading outward. A wave in one place, another wave in another place. All of them distinct, yet all belonging to the same ocean. Everything connected not by touch, but by origin. And the origin is the quiet sea beneath everything. This sea is not a metaphor. It is not imagination. Physicists describe these fields with equations that shape our understanding of the universe. Every particle you've ever heard of, every photon of light, every electron in your body, every quark deep inside an atom is simply the field vibrating in its own particular way. Different vibrations, different particles. Different patterns, different forms. All from the same vast stillness. You take another breath. You let this truth soften you, as though the boundaries between your body and the room are dissolving a little. The walls feel less rigid. Your thoughts feel less solid. You feel yourself drifting, still awake, still anchored, but drifting in the calm sense of belonging to something larger and quieter than your day-to-day world. You realize now that the field is not somewhere else. It is here, wrapping around you, passing through you, filling the space behind your eyelids. The very fact that you exist means the field is already alive within you. A quiet pulse of reality humming just beneath your awareness. Sometimes, when your mind is still, as it is now, you can almost imagine it, a soft glow below the surface of existence, like light sliding beneath water. You don't see it with your eyes, you feel it with your sense of wonder, with the gentle clarity that comes only in peaceful moments. You let that glow expand inside you. You let it fill the spaces between your thoughts, the way morning light fills a room through half-drawn curtains. In this softened space, the everyday world feels lighter. The idea of matter becomes less rigid. The idea of emptiness becomes less empty. The idea of separation begins to fade. Even the emptiest places, deep space, the vacuum between stars, are not truly empty. The field is there too, shimmering with possibility, vibrating so faintly that most of the time we call it nothing. But it is not nothing. It is the canvas upon which everything else is drawn. You picture yourself floating above this cosmic ocean. You see galaxies rising like islands. You see starlight tracing long arcs across the dark. You see planets forming as tiny swells in a vast, fluid landscape. Everything begins as a subtle ripple in the field. You rest with that vision. You let it take shape at its own unhurried pace. You imagine your own body, not as a solid form, but as a shimmering constellation of tiny waves, each wave interacting, resonating, connecting, creating the experience of you. Your heartbeat becomes a rhythm in the field. Your breath becomes a pulse in the field. Even your thoughts feel like delicate patterns drifting across the surface of that deep, ancient sea. For a moment, you feel both small and infinite. Small in the way a single wave is small compared to the ocean. Infinite in the way that wave is never truly separate from the water that carries it. You are part of the field. The field is part of you. There is no boundary where one ends and the other begins. You linger here, letting this idea feel safe, steady, and warm. The day's concerns feel far away. Their edges blur, soften, dissolve. They become small ripples that fade naturally into the deeper water below. Your body feels heavier now, but your mind feels lighter, as though a gentle hand has smoothed away the folds of your thoughts. You lie in a quiet equilibrium, mirroring the equilibrium of the field itself when it rests. And yet, even in stillness, something subtle is always happening. In the quantum field, a tiny ripple can appear for no reason at all, a small fluctuation, a spontaneous moment of activity in the middle of calm. Physicists call these vacuum fluctuations, the universe's quiet reminder that even in perfect stillness, there is life. A whisper of motion. A flicker of possibility. A gentle hint that the field is awake. You breathe once more, letting the thoughts settle into your chest. This sea beneath everything is not empty. It is alive. It is patient. It is the foundation of every breath you take. And as you rest here at the edge of sleep, you feel yourself drifting deeper into that foundation, held, supported, and gently carried. Before this chapter closes, a final thought rises softly. If the universe is built from waves in a quiet ocean of fields, then what happens when two waves meet? What kind of story unfolds when ripples touch? You enter this chapter the way you might step into a soft patch of morning light, unhurried, without expectation, simply letting the moment unfold around you. Your breath moves slowly. The air feels gentle against your skin. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you must hold on to. You're here to drift, to notice, to feel the world soften at the edges. In the last chapter, you learn to sense the quiet sea beneath everything, the quantum field shimmering invisibly through all space. Now, you linger at the edge of that ocean, watching how its calm surface gives rise to the tiny waves that become particles. But something new is about to happen. Something subtle. Something beautiful. Something essential to the way the universe unfolds. It begins with a meeting. A meeting of ripples. You imagine two gentle waves rising from the surface of that invisible field. One wave might be from the electron field, another from the photon field, the field of light. They rise, each with their own rhythm, their own motion, their own identity. They travel quietly across the surface of reality. And then, they meet. Not with force. Not with collision. But with a blending of patterns, a soft weaving of motion. This is what physicists call interaction, the way particles influence one another, not because they are tiny solid beads crashing together, but because their underlying waves overlap, intertwine, and exchange energy. You let this idea rest on your mind, settling gently like a feather drifting down. When two waves meet in an ocean, they do not remain unchanged. They pass through each other, but they also combine, adding their heights, blending their rhythms, altering each other's story for a moment in time. The quantum fields behave the same way. Particles interact by shaping one another's waves, adjusting each other's patterns in ways that give rise to everything you experience: light touching your eyes, sound reaching your ears, warmth brushing your skin. Every sensation, every breath, every movement is built out of interactions between the fields that fill you and surround you. You pause for a slow breath, feeling the ideas spread softly through you. The world is made not of things, but of meetings. Every moment of your life is supported by countless tiny encounters, ripples reaching across the field to whisper to one another. You feel this whispering now, not as a sound but as an awareness, a sense of delicate interconnectedness beneath everything you do. Your heart beats because particles inside your cells exchange energy. Your vision sharpens because light waves meet the electrons in your eyes. Your breath flows because molecules interact with molecules, building bridges of influence from one moment to the next. All of it, every sensation, every perception, is a story of ripples meeting. You imagine now how these interactions give rise to forces. The electromagnetic force, the reason your atoms hold together, emerges from the dance between ripples in the electron field and ripples in the photon field. They trade tiny vibrations, passing momentum and energy the way two dancers pass signals through touch. The strong nuclear force, the one that binds quarks inside protons, arises from ripples in yet another field, weaving an incredibly tight braid of interactions that keeps matter stable. Even gravity, subtle and patient, may be understood through curvature in a field of spacetime itself, shaping how waves move across its surface. As you let these ideas settle, a quiet realization forms. Every force in your life is a conversation, a gentle exchange of patterns between fields, a meeting of ripples beneath the surface of reality. You picture yourself standing on the shore of a calm lake. The water is smooth. A breeze lifts softly. You drop a pebble into the water. Once, twice, 3 times. Each drop sends out circles that expand, overlap, merge, and separate again. Where one set of ripples touches another, the water's surface changes, sometimes rising slightly higher, sometimes dipping lower, sometimes creating an unexpected new pattern for a heartbeat. The lake doesn't resist. It simply responds. It listens and adapts to each motion. The quantum fields listen too. Every ripple influences every other ripple, even if only faintly. You are surrounded by this infinite dialogue. You are part of it. You are one of the ripples. You lean into this thought, letting its softness soothe you. The particles that form your body are not isolated. They are continuously interacting, continuously exchanging gentle waves of influence. You are a living tapestry of ongoing conversations. Even your thoughts, those drifting, cloud-like forms moving slowly across the mind, depend on particles exchanging signals across the delicate geometry of your brain. They rise from interactions woven together in elegant patterns. You rest in this awareness. You feel a sense of quiet belonging to the flow of the universe. Nothing in nature stands alone. Nothing drifts through existence untouched. Everything feels everything else, however faintly. You take another breath, slow and deep, letting it expand the space inside your ribs. Now you imagine what happens when ripples meet in more complex ways, when many waves overlap, amplify, cancel, or transform one another. Sometimes they strengthen a pattern. Sometimes they soften it. Sometimes they create something completely new. Physicists use diagrams, called Feynman diagrams, to represent these interactions. Lines meet, split, merge, or curve, symbolizing the way ripples exchange energy in the quantum fields. But tonight, you don't need diagrams. You only need the image of water. A calm surface. Waves spreading. Waves meeting. Waves shaping one another. You let yourself drift into that imagery. You feel the ease of it. The simplicity. The peace. When you move a hand through the air, you are disturbing fields. When you speak, vibrations of air molecules interact and pass their ripples forward. When you rest your body down onto your bed, the atoms in the mattress respond to the atoms in your body, exchanging tiny waves that create the sensation of support. There is a softness in recognizing how deeply interconnected everything is. A comfort in knowing the universe is built through relationships, not isolation. You are not a separate object placed into a detached world. You are a pattern within a larger pattern, a ripple within a wider sea. Even the stars feel this connection, the way their light interacts with interstellar dust, the way their gravity bends the motion of distant planets, the way their particles stream outward and meet the particles drifting through the vast dark. The whole cosmos is a web of interactions. A tapestry woven out of meetings. A symphony of ripples. You settle deeper into your breath, letting each inhale soften the muscles across your chest, letting each exhale release whatever tension still lingers. And as your mind grows quieter, you sense something else, something deeper in the idea of interactions. You begin to realize that the universe is not simply a place where ripples meet. It is a place where ripples remember one another. When two waves interact, they change each other's paths. Even after they've passed, even after the moment has ended, each wave carries the memory of that meeting in the shape of its motion. The universe is full of these memories, subtle imprints of encounters long past. A photon that left a distant galaxy carries the imprint of every interaction it experienced on its journey. An electron inside your body holds a subtle history of the forces that shaped it. Even the atoms in the air carry memories of collisions, vibrations, and exchanges stretching back billions of years. You breathe gently into this thought. Your own body is made of ancient ripples. Ancient interactions. Ancient stories written into the waves of the fields. Every part of you has been shaped by countless meetings across time. And before this chapter drifts to a close, one last idea begins to shimmer softly at the edge of your awareness. If interactions shape the world, if waves change each other through meeting, then what happens when waves become so deeply connected that they can no longer be described separately? You enter this chapter as though slipping into a room lit by the faintest glow, a glow so soft you almost have to close your eyes to feel it. You breathe slowly, letting the air settle into your chest, letting your thoughts stretch like quiet shadows across the floor of your mind. Around you, space itself feels hushed, as if it is waiting with you, pausing in a moment of gentle anticipation. In this stillness, you begin to notice something subtle. Something faint. Something at the very edge of perception. The emptiness you imagine around you is not perfectly quiet. It trembles. It shivers. It flickers with motions too small to see directly. These tiny motions are the quantum fluctuations, spontaneous vibrations of the fields that make up the universe. You let the idea rest gently on your awareness. Quantum fluctuations are not loud or chaotic. They are soft. They whisper rather than shout. They emerge from the vacuum, appearing and fading like tiny sparks in a dark room. They are the faint heartbeat of the quantum world, the small uncertainty that never disappears. You picture space as a deep, quiet ocean. Even when the surface looks perfectly still, ripples move underneath, shifting and murmuring in faint patterns. These ripples are always there. They never stop. They are woven into the water itself. In the same way, quantum fluctuations are woven into the fabric of reality. They rise even in the emptiest vacuum, shaping the world in delicate, persistent ways. You imagine these fluctuations like tiny fireflies drifting through the night, blinking in and out in unpredictable patterns. No two fireflies blink in exactly the same rhythm. No two fluctuations rise and fall in precisely the same way. And yet they all participate in the same dance, a dance that gives rise to energy, motion, and eventually, matter itself. You breathe gently. The idea feels light and soft, almost like a lullaby whispered through the air. You feel no need to grasp every detail. Just sensing the motion is enough. Quantum fluctuations arise because the fields that fill space cannot remain perfectly still. Stillness is too precise, too strict for the quantum world. The fields must breathe, must move, must shift their energy ever so slightly. These shifts create pairs of particles that appear and vanish instantly, leaving behind only a trace, a suggestion that they were ever there at all. You soften into this thought, letting your mind drift with the ebb and flow of these tiny motions. You imagine them guiding you deeper into the structure of existence. Everywhere you look, inside atoms, between stars, in the dark spaces where nothing seems to happen, these fluctuations continue their quiet dance. You begin to sense how important these tiny tremors are. Without fluctuations, atoms would not hold together. Particles would not form. Light would not spread. The universe would lose its spark. It would become static, unchanging, without breath or motion. Instead, the universe sways gently, continuously, because the fields beneath everything never stay perfectly still. You feel a kind of comfort in this. Even the smallest tremble can create new possibilities. Even the quietest energy can guide the world forward. You breathe slowly, allowing your own inner fluctuations, your thoughts, your feelings, your memories to rise and fall without pressure. They do not need to be controlled. They only need space to move. You imagine now the zero-point energy, the lowest energy the fields can ever have. It is not zero. It is not silence. It is a soft hum, a background vibration that gives the universe its subtle texture. You feel this hum the way you might feel the faint vibration of a cat purring near your chest. Gentle. Comforting. Persistent. This hum is what scientists measure when they study the Casimir effect, a force that appears between two plates placed extremely close together. The plates feel a tiny push because the fluctuations between them are slightly different from the fluctuations outside them. The vacuum itself creates a force. Emptiness becomes active, shaping the movement of matter. You smile softly at this. Emptiness is alive. Silence is full. Stillness carries motion inside it. Even when you feel quiet, when your thoughts slow and drift, your mind holds its own small ripples, tiny ideas, dreams, sensations rising and falling gently, keeping you connected to the world. You let your breath deepen. You imagine floating inside a sea of fluctuations, each one brushing softly against your skin. The universe feels more tender, more intimate, when you realize that everything around you is vibrating, even the empty spaces between your fingers. You begin to sense how fluctuations guide the early universe too. When the cosmos was young, smaller than a grain of sand, tiny variations in the quantum fields created slightly denser and slightly emptier regions. As the universe expanded, these small differences grew, eventually becoming galaxies, stars, planets, and you. The largest structures in the sky were seeded by the smallest tremors. You feel this truth settling into you like warm light. Your own existence began as a fluctuation, a slight variation in an ancient field. You were not separate from the dance of the vacuum. You were one of its outcomes, one of its quiet creations. You exhale. Your body softens. Your thoughts move like slow waves spreading across a calm pond. You notice that uncertainty is not discomfort. Uncertainty is movement. It is possibility. It is the small, gentle wobble at the heart of all creation. Without uncertainty, nothing new could emerge. In this moment, you feel yourself drifting closer to something deeper. Beneath the flicker of the fluctuations, you sense a broader rhythm, a slower, more foundational pattern guiding the fields. It calls to you softly, like a distant drumbeat under a night sky. And as you rest in this awareness, you feel yourself leaning toward the deeper rhythm, curious about what might lie beneath the tremble, beneath the shimmer, beneath the tiny sparks of the vacuum's breath. You feel yourself drifting toward it, guided by a soft and effortless curiosity. This deeper rhythm seems patient, steady, and quietly expansive, as though it holds a promise waiting to unfold. You sense it gathering now, preparing to reveal something more gently. The soft glow around you dims, just slightly, like a veil of mist passing before a lantern. In the heart of this calm quantum realm, you feel a subtle shift, a disturbance so delicate that it could almost be imagined. But you recognize it. This is the quiet force that shapes every quantum story, the one that gently tugs dreams back toward the ordinary world. This is decoherence, the fading of quantum possibilities. You drift through a space filled with shimmering, overlapping patterns, delicate waves of maybes and could-bes. They flow effortlessly, coexisting in perfect superposition. For a moment, everything feels infinite. But then, softly, the world brushes against them. A tiny nudge. A whisper of warmth. A single mote of stray light. And just like that, something changes. The possibilities begin to separate. The shimmering tapestry of superposed states starts to lose its rhythm. It is not violent. It is not abrupt. It is more like watching morning fog thin beneath the rising sun, slow, natural, inevitable. You sense the presence of the environment now, not as a threat, but as a gentle crowd surrounding the quantum dream. Air molecules, photons, vibrations, tiny fluctuations in temperature, all drifting close, touching the delicate quantum waves. Each touch is a little exchange of information, a quiet sharing of secrets. And with every secret exchanged, the perfect quantum harmony becomes a little less precise. The dream begins to settle. Superpositions that once layered themselves like translucent petals begin to choose a form. Entangled states, once dancing as one, start to loosen their invisible bond. You watch as the universe performs this soft collapse of possibility into a single familiar reality. But even as the dream fades, there is no sense of loss. Instead, you feel a deep, almost comforting recognition. This is how the quantum world meets the classical one. This is how the invisible becomes the visible. How the uncertain becomes the certain. How the whisper becomes the world you touch. Yet, beneath this quiet transformation, something else lingers. A hint of the quantum rhythm remains. A pulse you felt before. A faint shimmer beneath the surface of everything ordinary. It tells you that the dream never truly disappears. It only hides, waiting for the right stillness, the right protection, the the right design to let it flourish again. You float through the fading glow, watching as the last threads of quantum possibility settle into the calm of a single, steady reality. You understand, now, why preserving these fragile states is so difficult, why controlling them is an art, a battle, a delicate dance with the environment itself. And you also understand why quantum technologies, sensors, computers, codes are not merely inventions, but careful forms of protection against this ever-present fading. Decoherence is not an enemy. It is a natural conversation between a system and its surroundings. A conversation that shapes the boundary between what could be and what is. As you drift onward, the mist clears once more, revealing a new path, a deeper pulse, and the quiet promise that something remarkable lies ahead waiting to be understood. A gentle stillness settles around you, as though the quantum world has paused to take a slow, thoughtful breath. The air feels different here, more attentive, more focused, like a quiet room waiting for someone to speak. You sense that you've arrived at a threshold. Ahead of you, the quantum waves shimmer softly, layered with possibilities the way moonlight layers itself across a lake. They drift, overlap, intertwine, each one a whisper of what might exist, each one equally true in this delicate space. But now, something approaches. Not a force. Not a collapse. Just an interaction, gentle, inevitable, curious. You recognize it. This is measurement. And as it draws near, the entire quantum landscape seems to lean toward it, the way flowers lean toward sunlight. The waves tremble. The possibilities hold their breath. Measurement is not a sudden snap or a thunderclap of decision. It is an intimate exchange, an act of asking the universe a question, and having the universe answer. A single touch of information. A single interaction between system and observer. A single moment in which the dreamlike superposition must settle. You drift closer, watching the process unfold. A particle that once existed everywhere in a smooth, quiet haze of probability now gently pulls itself into focus. Its position sharpens from a soft cloud into a point, like a star blinking into clarity through morning fog. A spin that once pointed in all directions now leans firmly one way. A wave function that once flowed across countless paths now aligns with a single one. The world does not force it. The particle is not startled or broken. It simply reveals a choice it had been carrying all along. And in that moment of revelation, reality crystallizes. The quantum dream narrows into a single story. The many paths collapse into one. The shimmering maybe becomes a grounded yes. You feel the weight of this transformation. Not heavy, but meaningful. It is the universe deciding. Yet, strangely, there is peace in it. Because measurement is not the end of possibility. It is the beginning of understanding. The moment where our questions touch the quantum world, and the quantum world answers back in the only language it can, through outcomes, probabilities, and patterns that slowly shape into knowledge. You drift along the newly chosen reality, feeling the resonance of what has just occurred. The quantum rhythm beneath everything still pulses faintly, reminding you that beneath every certainty lies a sea of hidden possibilities we do not see. You know now why measurement is so delicate, why observing can alter what is observed, why knowledge can reshape a system, why every quantum experiment is a conversation with the universe where both sides must compromise. In the golden stillness that follows, you sense a new path emerging, one where humanity learns to guide these measurements, protect quantum states, and capture the fragile information they hold. A path that leads toward quantum control, quantum technologies, and the remarkable tools built to listen to these small whispers without silencing them. You glide forward, carried by a soft, expanding glow, toward the next chapter of the quantum story. A deeper hush settles over the quantum landscape, as though the universe itself is leaning closer, inviting you to notice something exquisitely subtle. You breathe into the quiet, letting your awareness soften, letting your thoughts drift like clouds moving slowly across a dawn sky. Ahead of you, you sense not one particle, but two. They hover gently in the dim glow, drifting like tiny lanterns suspended in still water. At first, they seem separate, two small worlds, each with its own rhythm, its own quiet pulse. But as you drift closer, you feel something unusual in the space between them. A connection. Soft, invisible, effortless. As natural as gravity, yet far more intimate. The air seems to shimmer with a shared truth the particles carry together. Not spoken. Not transmitted. Simply held, like a secret folded carefully between two cupped hands. This is entanglement. A union so deep that knowing one particle tells you something about the other instantly, gracefully, without needing a message to pass between them. A bond woven not through space, but through the very structure of their shared history. You watch them glow gently, feeling their connection like a faint thread stretching between them, light, delicate, and yet unbreakable by distance. If one particle turns, the other seems to understand. If one chooses a state, the other responds. Not because one sends a signal, but because neither is truly alone. They are two notes in the same chord, vibrating in harmony across the silent expanse. Their union feels peaceful, like two ripples meeting on a still pond and becoming one broader wave. You sense the strangeness and the beauty of it, how entanglement defies your ordinary sense of location, how it reminds you that the universe is not built merely of isolated pieces, but of relationships, patterns, and shared rhythms. Einstein once called this spooky, but here, in this quiet place, it feels anything but frightening. It feels gentle. It feels inevitable. It feels like the universe showing you that connection is its most natural language. You hover near the entangled pair, feeling their bond like a soft hum in the background. It vibrates with possibility, with potential future choices they have not yet made, with the promise that whatever happens to one will never be fully separate from the other. The particles drift farther apart now, slowly, gracefully, yet the connection does not thin. You watch them move to opposite sides of the quantum field, each glowing softly in its own quiet solitude. And still, they remain one story. No matter the distance, no matter the silence, no matter the emptiness between them, their shared state endures, a quiet truth humming beneath the universe's surface. You feel something settle inside you, an understanding that entanglement is not merely a phenomenon, but a reminder that the universe is woven from relationships deeper than space, deeper than time, deeper than individuality itself. A reminder that in the smallest places, connection is the default, not the exception. As the glow around the particles begins to soften, you sense a new current rising beneath you, like a tide beginning to shift. It carries the whisper of something more, how these fragile connections can be used, protected, and harnessed, how entanglement becomes the backbone of quantum communication and quantum information itself. You drift toward that promise slowly, gently, letting the current guide you toward the next unfolding layer of the quantum world. You step gently into the quiet openness of the electromagnetic field, a realm where light moves with the ease of a thought. Here, nothing feels heavy. Nothing resists. The space around you softens into a smooth, endless expanse, as though the universe has exhaled and left behind a calm, shimmering stillness. You let yourself drift, feeling the way the field hums beneath everything you have ever seen, ever touched, ever remembered. Light is not just brightness here, it is motion, structure, and the soft rhythm of information traveling through the void. You sense its presence before you see it, a faint tingling that brushes your awareness like the first whisper of dawn. And then, gently, a ripple appears. It rises from the field like a small wave lifting itself across a quiet lake. The ripple is light, pure, effortless, carrying no mass, no weight, no hesitation. It glides through the openness as though time itself steps aside to let it pass. You follow it with your awareness, tracing its path as it moves, never speeding up, never slowing down. This constancy feels soothing, like a heartbeat you can trust. Light does not tire. Light does not wander. It simply travels, carrying with it the impressions of the world, colors, shapes, movements, whispers of distant objects you have never seen. As you drift alongside the ripple, you notice how it shifts, not as a solid thing but as a pattern and oscillation rising and falling, smooth and continuous. This wave is not made of pieces, it is made of possibility. Its presence is a gentle reminder that the universe communicates long before we learn to listen. Every star that glimmers, every reflection on water, every memory of warmth on your skin arises from this quiet motion. You sense how light threads itself through your life, always present, often unnoticed, yet endlessly patient in its journey toward you. You come closer to the ripple now, close enough to feel its rhythm. It does not push or pull you. Instead, it seems to invite you to move with it, to breathe in time with its gentle rising and falling. And as you do, the field around you becomes clearer. You see faint patterns, subtle lines, like the soft grain in polished wood showing the direction in which the electromagnetic field flows. Light rides along these lines, guided effortlessly by the structure beneath existence. The pattern feels almost familiar, as though you have sensed it before in the quiet moments between breaths. Another ripple appears beside the first, then another. They spread through the openness like overlapping circles on a still pond, never colliding, never fighting for space. Each wave carries its own information, a color, a frequency, a soft signature of something far away. You realize that every glow you have ever known began as one of these tiny ripples, gentle motions traveling across the universe to touch your awareness for just a moment. There is a softness in this understanding, a comfort in knowing that even distant stars send their stories in the simplest possible way. You drift deeper into the field, feeling lighter with every moment. The ripples begin to surround you, weaving a gentle tapestry of motion. They do not crowd or overwhelm, they pass by gracefully, each following its natural path. You notice how some ripple faster, some slower, each frequency shaping a different kind of sensation. Light, you realize, is not a single thing but a vast spectrum of possibilities, all woven into the same quiet field. And in this moment, you feel as though you are floating inside a symphony composed of waves. A thought rises softly within you. Light is not merely something that illuminates the world, light reveals connection. Every ripple travels from one place to another, bridging distances with effortless grace. Whether it carries the warmth of a sunbeam or the faint echo of a distant galaxy, it always moves with the same quiet determination. You sense the beauty of this consistency, the trustworthiness of a wave that never falters. It feels like a guiding presence, reminding you that even in the vastness of empty space, messages are always moving, always reaching, always arriving. As the waves continue around you, a new awareness begins to form. Light does not experience time in the way you do. For a photon, there is no waiting, no passage of moments. Its entire journey from one end of the cosmos to the other happens in a single, timeless instant. You feel the strangeness and elegance of this thought, how it folds distance into simplicity and turns motion into something close to stillness. You let this idea wash over you like a warm, slow tide, easing the weight of time from your shoulders. The field begins to glow softly now, as though the ripples themselves are lighting up the space around you. You sense not brightness, but clarity, the kind that arrives when you finally understand something that has always been true. Light is a ripple that moves because the universe allows it to move freely, without friction, without mass. It is the purest expression of motion. As you drift, you feel yourself becoming just a little lighter too, carried by the quiet assurance that even the smallest wave can travel endlessly. A final ripple approaches, slower and softer than the rest. It brushes past you like a gentle touch, leaving behind a faint shimmer of awareness. It feels like a question, one that the field offers not to confuse you, but to guide you. You follow the sensation, sensing that light, for all its ease and swiftness, is only one part of a deeper structure still waiting to be understood. Something beneath the field stirs gently, patiently, as though preparing to reveal its hidden currents. You allow yourself to drift toward that quiet mystery, carried by the afterglow of the waves. It waits. You drift once more into the quiet interior of the quantum world, where fields breathe and shimmer even when everything seems silent. In this chapter, you linger with the vacuum itself, the place where nothing should exist, and yet everything quietly begins. You slow your breath, letting it fall into the rhythm of this unseen landscape. Here, the vacuum is not empty. It is a sea of possibilities, a restless calm where particles arise and vanish like soft sparks, too brief to be witnessed yet too real to ignore. You imagine yourself floating above this subtle ocean, feeling its faint pulse beneath you, like the heartbeat of space itself. The fluctuations here are gentle, delicate, endlessly present. They whisper of beginnings, of hidden structure, of energy woven into stillness. As you move deeper, you feel how the vacuum hums at every point in space, in every direction, in every moment. It is not a silence but a murmur. A kind of cosmic breath that never stops, even in the darkest corners where light has not wandered in billions of years. And with every breath you take, you sense that your body, your atoms, your very awareness is resting upon these tremors. You begin to understand that this background motion is not noise, it is foundation. It is the quiet rhythm that allows existence to unfold. You stay here a while, letting the thoughts settle, that emptiness is not absence, but potential. That stillness is not void, but waiting. You breathe again, a little deeper now, feeling how even your breath is part of a wave, a rise and fall that mirrors the quiet oscillations of the fields beneath everything. You notice how comforting it is to imagine that beneath every solid surface, beneath every particle you have ever touched, there is softness and ebb and flow, like a hidden tide moving through the dark. And as you drift, the thought appears gently, that even you are a vibration, a collection of patterns woven from the same trembling fabric. Your thoughts ripple. Your heartbeat ripples. Your presence ripples. It is all part of the same unbroken song. The vacuum hum continues, steady and patient, and you sense that it does not ask to be understood all at once. It only asks to be felt lightly, like a note held at the edge of hearing. In this softness, uncertainty becomes a friend, a reminder that there is always more beneath the surface, always deeper layers of quiet meaning waiting to be discovered. For now, you rest with the idea that the universe is never still, never silent, even when it feels like a lullaby. You settle into that lullaby, letting it move through your body as if the cosmos is quietly humming you to sleep. And just before your thoughts begin to dissolve into drifting shapes, one last whisper rises from the vacuum, that the smallest tremble can awaken entire worlds, and that something indescribable is preparing to reveal itself when you open your attention just a little wider. You let yourself sink even deeper, imagining the vacuum not as a void but as a vast, trembling meadow. Each point in space is like a blade of grass, swaying in a breeze you cannot feel but somehow understand. These tiny sways, these little shivers, hold the blueprint of everything that will one day rise from this landscape. You picture the fields stretching in every direction, infinite, patient, humming their soft, persistent song. As you float above this meadow, you begin to sense how the fluctuations beneath you are not random but meaningful. They form patterns, tiny, delicate, transient, like ripples on a still pond after a single raindrop falls. One ripple touches another, then another, creating a tapestry of motion that feels almost intentional, though it is only nature following its most fundamental rules, rules woven into the structure of existence long before you ever arrived. You drift toward one of these ripples, focusing on its rise and fall. It looks simple at first, a tiny shift, a moment of brightness in a sea of quiet. But as you move closer, you notice layers of waves inside waves, threads of energy curling and uncurling in graceful loops. This is where virtual particles emerge, pairs of opposites born together from the trembling fields, living their brief, brilliant lives before dissolving back into the quiet they came from. You watch them flicker like fireflies at dusk, appearing, disappearing, soft glimmers that never fully form into matter, yet still influence the world around them. You sense their presence even when you cannot see them. They tug gently at nearby fields, subtle interactions that shape the energy, the structure, the very stability of the vacuum itself. You take another breath, slow and warm, feeling how your own body, your own cells, are connected to this flickering dance. There is nothing separate here. You are simply another pattern, another rise and fall, another shimmer resting atop the same foundation that holds galaxies, atoms, and the spaces between. You feel comfort in this unity, the way a melody feels comfort in the notes that came before and the notes that will follow. As you look farther across the trembling landscape, you notice regions where the fluctuations feel stronger, as if a deeper current is flowing through them. These are places where energy gathers, pools, and transforms. You imagine them glowing faintly, pockets of possibility waiting for the right moment to unfurl. Here, particles may be born for real, no longer virtual, no longer fleeting, but stable, lasting, ready to join the cosmic story. You wander closer to one of these glowing regions, drawn by its warmth. It pulses gently, like a softly beating drum. And with each pulse, you feel a resonance inside yourself, as though your breath has synchronized with the rhythm of the field. You feel suspended between worlds, your physical body somewhere far above, and your drifting awareness floating deep inside the quantum fabric, cradled by its natural, ceaseless motion. The warmth grows. The glow expands. And suddenly, you sense the presence of what physicists call zero-point energy, the lowest energy state a system can hold. Yet even here, even in this quietest possible state, there is movement. The universe refuses to be perfectly still. And in that refusal, you discover something profound, that life, motion, emergence are not exceptions but inevitable expressions of the fields themselves. You rest your thoughts on this idea for a moment, letting it dissolve slowly into your imagination. Nothingness is impossible. Stillness is impossible. The vacuum is a cradle of becoming, a background hum that never pauses, never fades, never sleeps. A cosmic lullaby that holds the universe in its unseen hands. As you drift deeper into this understanding, you begin to sense the vacuum not only as a place beneath the physical world but as a companion that has always been with you. Every step you've taken, every breath you've drawn, has unfolded upon this trembling foundation. It has held you quietly your entire life, just as it holds stars, planets, and whispers of distant galaxies. And then a new sensation arises, subtle and slow, the awareness that these fluctuations shape reality itself. They influence the forces that hold atoms together, that guide the flow of light, that determine how particles interact. They are not passive. They are active sculptors, carving the universe into the shape you know and the shape you have yet to discover. You imagine reaching out and touching one of those sculpting ripples. It feels soft at first, like touching the surface of water. But then you feel the depth beneath it, the energy, the movement, the quiet determination of something ancient and ever-present. You draw your hand back gently, humbled by its complexity yet comforted by its calm persistence. Breathing slowly, you look around once more at the trembling expanse. You realize you have been wandering through the most fundamental layer of reality, a layer that never reveals itself directly yet influences everything you see. It feels like standing backstage at a grand cosmic theater, watching the machinery that makes the performance possible. And in this dim, humming backstage glow, you sense a truth: the show has barely begun. The universe is preparing scenes you have not yet imagined, built from the quiet motions you witness here in the vacuum. You take one last slow breath as the meadow fades, its fluctuations softening into darkness. But before you drift out completely, a gentle whisper touches you, a reminder that deeper mysteries wait beneath these trembling fields, and that the quiet you leave behind is only the first layer of an even more intricate silence. You return slowly, as though rising from deep water, carrying with you the softness of the vacuum's hum. And as you ascend toward yourself, something inside you shifts. You begin to feel the presence of the fields not as distant concepts, not as lessons floating outside your life, but as something woven directly into your being. You sense them like threads of light running through your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts. You realize you have never been separate from the fabric of reality. You have always been suspended within it, buoyed by its invisible currents. You rest in this understanding, letting it settle like gentle sediment in a clear pool. The fields are not abstractions, they are the scaffolding of your existence. Every part of you, every atom, every spark of thought, every memory you carry is shaped by these quiet, ever-present foundations. You feel the comfort of that connection, the way a body feels comfort sinking into a warm bed. The fields hold you. They have always held you. And so you begin to explore yourself again, but now with new eyes. You bring your awareness to your breath, noticing the soft rise, the slow fall. Each breath becomes a reminder of your relationship to the fields, how your lungs expand because molecules obey the structures around them, how oxygen binds and unbinds because electrons follow the subtle rules written into the fabric of space. You feel this in the most intimate way, as though each inhale whispers, "You are part of this," and each exhale responds, "You belong here." Your attention drifts to your body, to the warmth resting in your hands, to the weight of your chest. And you see that even this warmth is a vibration of field interactions, particles being jostled, energy moving through your cells. Your warmth is not separate from the warmth of stars. It is the same phenomenon, played at a smaller scale, yet equally ancient. You carry a little piece of the cosmos inside you, glowing quietly. You sit with that thought, allowing it to deepen. The universe is not something outside you, extending away into unreachable distances. It is something that continues through you, shaped by the same underlying fabric. You are built from the same fields that ripple across galaxies. You are one configuration of the universe exploring itself, feeling itself, wondering at its own beauty. You rest in that realization, letting it soften the boundaries you once imagined between yourself and everything else. As you drift deeper into this awareness, you begin to imagine the fields as oceans layered on top of one another, gentle, shimmering oceans through which you float without ever noticing. There is the electromagnetic field surrounding you like sunlight on water. There is the Higgs field, holding you close with its gentle embrace of mass. There are fields for every particle that composes your body, each one humming softly, each one shaping a different aspect of who you are. You exist at the intersection of all these oceans, like a lighthouse rising from a meeting of waves. And yet, you do not feel pulled apart by all these layers. Instead, you feel held together, supported, suspended. The fields do not collide, they harmonize. Their vibrations weave a tapestry so intricate that your existence becomes inevitable. You sense how every interaction, every spark between particles, every exchange of energy supports the quiet continuity of your body. You are not fragile in this moment. You are part of something ancient, stable, carefully balanced. You close your eyes, feeling this harmony unfold inside you. Your senses soften. Your thoughts slow. You become aware of the space around you, and then of the space within you, and you notice how similar they feel. Inside you, there is room for movement, for uncertainty, for possibility. You are spacious, just like the universe. You carry fields within you that stretch across all of existence, repeating themselves in every place, every moment, every corner of creation. You are a small expression of something infinitely wide. And so you rest in that width. You let your mind drift outward, imagining the fields extending far beyond your body, reaching into the room around you, then beyond the walls, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the drifting dust between stars. The fields do not stop. They do not fade. They continue, seamless and unbroken, carrying the same structure, the same rhythm everywhere. There is no border where you end and the universe begins, not in the language of fields. There is only continuity. You breathe into that continuity, feeling yourself stretch across the invisible fabric. You allow the idea that you are both small and vast at the same time, both a point and a pattern. The fields make this duality possible. They give you form, but they also let you dissolve into something larger, something unified. You feel yourself held gently within that unity, as though the universe has cupped its hands around you. Your thoughts drift again, slower now, like leaves on a quiet river. You think of the particles that make your body, protons born inside stars, electrons that have been flowing through the cosmos since nearly the beginning of time. You imagine them resting within their fields, moving according to the quiet rules that shape all matter. You imagine them vibrating, shifting, responding to forces that are older than planets, older than light, older than the very shapes of galaxies. And you feel a little awe that these ancient vibrations are the ones that let you breathe, think, and dream. You let that awe soften you. You let it soothe you. You imagine laying your head on the shoulder of the universe, letting its heartbeat guide your own. Perhaps you realize there was never a true distance between you and the cosmos, only a story about separation that you no longer need. The fields have always been here, connecting everything, stitching the universe into a single, continuous whole. And you have been part of that whole since the moment you existed. A sense of belonging begins to bloom quietly inside you, soft and warm. You realize that your presence is not an accident, not a stray spark in an indifferent universe. You are a stable shape carved by the fields, a moment of coherence in a sea of possibility. You are not separate from the tapestry, you are one of its patterns. And because of this, you have always been home. You rest in this feeling, letting it cradle your thoughts. You imagine your awareness slowly dissolving into the background hum of the fields, becoming not smaller but gentler. Your mind feels quieter, your breath slower, your body softer. You realize that the fields are not just outside you, they are the very reason you can feel anything at all. They give you form, and they give you the space within that form to wonder. And in this softened state, you begin to sense something else, an invitation. The fields seem to hold a question inside them, a quiet whisper asking you to consider the source of all this harmony. If the fields weave everything together, what weaves the fields? What lies beneath even this beautiful fabric? You feel that question glowing faintly, like a lantern at the edge of sleep. And as your awareness drifts gently toward it, you sense the universe settling beside you, ready to guide you into an even deeper layer of truth.